Little interaction here that seems like Caitlin Clark wasn't too happy with whatever was going on between her and the coaching staff tonight. You got Stephanie White doing the yapping that she does. Caitlin Clark doesn't want to hear it. Physically cringing. Look at this. Physically cringing, looking physically ill. Looking physically ill. Physically ill by whatever Stephanie White's saying. Like,
Caitlin Clark had just come through the kind of game most players would rather forget entirely. Yet, strangely enough, the biggest questions didn't come from what happened during the action. They started after the final buzzer, when the cameras began looking for reactions and caught something that immediately stood out. The focus soon moved toward the sideline, where Caitlin appeared unusually detached from everything around her. She didn't look like someone simply coming down from a tough game, and that raised the obvious question. Was something going on between Caitlin and Stephanie White, or had something completely different happened behind the scenes that most fans...
I'm still pissed. This was straight up sabotage. Stephanie White, you are a bum. Aaliyah Boston, you are even more of a bum. You are a $6 million piece of garbage out there. Your ass can't make a layup. You refuse to pass the ball to Caitlin Clark. You stink. You stink. You've been intentionally not passing the ball to Caitlin Clark for the last 7-8 games. We've been watching and counting. I've been watching your...
Caitlin Clark had one of those nights where almost nothing seemed to go her way. The Indiana Fever took a painful loss, but the real intrigue began after the game, when the broadcast cameras captured a brief moment that immediately had fans analyzing every detail. And what they saw wasn't a technical foul, a player getting tossed, or some explosive confrontation so intense that security had to step between the people involved.
Y'all thought we was done? We ain't done yet, dog. I'm here to tell you, Caitlin Clark is letting all the cats out the bag. There's too much surrounding this team nationally and internationally in regards to Sophie Cunningham, in regards to Caitlin Clark assaults, in regards to Stephanie White not taking up for her players. Should we keep going with storyline after storyline coming out about this team? And not to mention, Stephanie White not challenging any of Caitlin.
What made the scene stand out was that there was no obvious blow-up at all. Instead, Caitlin seemed to turn her attention away from Stephanie White, and almost instantly, one question started dominating the discussion. Was Caitlin simply reacting to the frustration of an awful night, or was that brief exchange hinting at a deeper problem that had been developing out of sight? Because when a star player has a rough performance, the missed shots are usually...
Over here. Get over here, CC. Let me talk to you. Don't you walk away from me. Yeah, I'm walking away. I'm walking away. Again, folks, not the most entertaining game. There were too many screens set for Caitlin Clark today. Personally, I wanted to see her be a little bit more aggressive. She finished taking 15 shots. Me personally, she finished the first half shooting 2 for 7. Shoot, if we're shooting 2 for 7, at that point, shoot 2 for 11. Keep hunting that shot. Keep hunting that shot. Keep hunting that.
When a team takes a loss, the usual reaction is to point toward defensive mistakes or missed opportunities. But the story can shift fast when the body language between a franchise star and her head coach suddenly becomes part of the discussion. And this game gave fans more than enough material to debate. Indiana entered the matchup against the Dallas Wings, a team that had been struggling, yet somehow the Fever walked away with a frustrating
91-85. I'm disgusted, B. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Kelsey Mitchell did have a good game. She dropped 37 points. She officially passed A'ja Wilson, so she has the most consecutive 20-point games. With that being said, Stephanie White, can we get back to trying to win basketball games now? She has the streak. She won it. She won it. Can we get back to trying to win now? Because I think this is nasty. All right, it was blatantly clear to me that she was making this game about Kelsey Mitchell, to the point that Aaliyah Boston's not playing good. Caitlin Clark's not playing good. Like, let me tell you something stupid. We ain't gonna win nothing like this.
Caitlin Clark ended the night with 10 points, 9 assists, and 4 rebounds, But her shooting line told a much rougher story. She finished 4 for 15 from the floor and just 2 for 8 from beyond the arc. There is really no reason to dress it up. Caitlin struggled. Shots she normally expects to knock down simply were not falling. Her rhythm never fully arrived, and throughout the game, she often looked out of sync with the offense. For someone who can completely change a game with a single long-range three and turn a routine possession into a highlight before the defense has time to react, this was clearly one of those nights where things just never clicked. But that is also where the discussion gets much more interesting, because the biggest criticism from some fans was not only about Caitlin missing shots, it was about the fact that she never seemed to find her rhythm. And to be absolutely clear, none of this should be interpreted as a shot at Kelsey Mitchell. When a player puts up 37 points, there is no reason to act like she should have done anything differently simply because she was playing well. Mitchell did exactly what an elite scorer is supposed to do when the chances came her way. She stayed aggressive, converted her opportunities, earned trips to the free throw line, and shouldered a huge
do with them seeing Caitlin Clark climbing that MVP ladder, and they said, hell no, we are sabotaging this, and that is exactly what happened. The Indiana Fever lose to a team in the Dallas Wings that lost 8 out of their last 11 games. You could thank Stephanie White, who wanted to make it all about Kelsey Mitchell. I am disgusted with the Indiana Fever. I am disgusted. Stephanie White, get your bum ass in the trash. Get your bum ass in the trash. You are a bum of a coach. You are terrible. You are terrible. You mean to tell me the very first play of the game was ran for Kelsey Mitchell? Caitlin Clark threw her a bounce pass. Kelsey Mitchell went to turn the corner.
The issue fans kept coming back to was not Mitchell's scoring. It was how the offensive balance looked throughout the game. Watching the Fever, frustrated supporters felt Caitlin was not getting enough chances to settle into a rhythm before Indiana found itself trying to climb out of a hole. They highlighted the lack of early pick-and-roll opportunities built around her, the limited off-ball movement designed to free her for open threes, and several possessions where Caitlin seemed to move the ball away only to never see it returned. And that distinction matters. Nobody is arguing that Caitlin Clark should control every single possession or launch a shot every time she touches the basketball. The point is that one of the most dangerous offensive weapons on the floor needs to remain meaningfully involved in the offense. Nobody is asking for the Caitlin Clark Basketball Association, where 4 teammates become human statues in the corners while waiting for an official government document giving them permission to touch the ball. That is simply not how basketball works. If Caitlin spends extended stretches standing away from the action, the offense can become awkward fast, almost like somebody changed the Wi-Fi password and suddenly the entire system has no idea how to reconnect. And that was really the heart of the frustration surrounding this game. Fans came away believing Kelsey Mitchell was being established as the primary option early, while Caitlin was basically being left to find her rhythm on her own. By the time Indiana started creating more favorable situations for Caitlin, the damage had already been done. She had missed enough attempts that instead of settling into the game naturally, every
big hack down there every play. We seen her get tackled tonight alone. Well, I'm ready to tell you, there's more, because Caitlin Clark is single-handedly, subliminally telling us fans that there's issues going on with Stephanie White. Now, Caitlin Clark was on the sideline. Stephanie White was trying to talk to Caitlin Clark. Now, this should not come as a surprise. When Caitlin Clark gets frustrated, she don't want to talk to nobody. And this was another situation like that. Only thing different is Caitlin Clark sat, she listened for a little bit, kind of turned away, walked away, went to the bench. Caitlin Clark got back in the game, got the ball, and Caitlin got like this move, a gesture. You can tell when Caitlin Clark not finna pass the ball.
When a shooter starts losing confidence, the problem can become mental just as quickly as it becomes physical. One miss can make the next attempt feel more important, and then another miss adds even more weight. Suddenly, a defender who might normally be manageable starts looking tougher to get around. Instead of simply reacting to the game and letting the shots come naturally, a player can begin thinking about every attempt that already went wrong. That appeared to be part of what Caitlin Clark was dealing with as this game unfolded. She tried to become more aggressive as the minutes went by, but by then, the rhythm she had been searching for seemed further and further away. And as the frustration continued building, the conversation slowly moved beyond Caitlin's shooting and toward a particular moment involving Stephanie White. A video clip started making the rounds, showing Caitlin seemingly turning away as White tried to speak with her. It was only a brief interaction, but almost immediately, people began assigning meaning to it. Still, the truth is that a few seconds caught on camera cannot possibly tell us everything about the relationship between a coach and her player. Caitlin had just gone through a rough individual performance, while the Fever were also processing a disappointing loss, so emotions were naturally going to be elevated. It is completely possible that Caitlin was simply upset with herself, frustrated by how the game had gone, and ready to move past the moment rather than discuss it right there. But once a clip like that reaches the internet, especially when the player involved is Caitlin Clark, fans are going to examine every glance, movement, and reaction like they have suddenly been recruited into the FBI's unofficial.
Oh, what did this thing end? Well, it's a 6-point game, but guys, that's a little deceiving. The entire second half felt like all wings. You kept thinking Caitlin Clark was going to get hot and start doing something. That didn't happen. Kelsey Mitchell had a big damn game. Real big. But in the end, it was not enough. It was not enough at all.
That is one of the stranger parts of professional sports in today's social media era. Once supporters start believing there could be tension between two people, even the smallest interaction can suddenly be treated like a piece of evidence. A coach talking to a player becomes something fans want to decode. A player looking away can instantly send social media into speculation mode, with people acting like they're writing an obituary for a partnership that may not even be in trouble. And before anyone knows the full context, one camera angle can somehow create a dozen different theories about what supposedly happened behind closed doors. The reality is that most of the discussion surrounding this clip comes down to interpretation, body language, and when the moment happened. And even if the online reaction has stretched far beyond what the actual footage can prove, it has brought up a much more meaningful basketball issue. Are Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever actually getting everything they can from their offensive system? That question becomes even more interesting when you look at Aaliyah Boston's role within that offense. Boston ended the game with 14 points and 9 rebounds, but some fans were left frustrated by what they viewed as missed chances to create more effective opportunities between Boston and Caitlin. The potential connection is obvious, which is exactly why
Only one playing good, and we're going to win games. Your ass might want to go look at her record before Clark got here. See how many games she was winning. She was winning playing like that. 5 games, 6 games. Her and AB winning 13 games in the season. Like, bro, you need Clark to be in her bag. When Clark is in her bag, the defense tightens up on her. Now people are open. Now Kelsey can cut. Now all kind of good things happen. When you go through Kelsey, everybody's just standing there. What don't you get about that yet? Like, oh my God. Like, Clark, please, I need you to get away from her, man. I know, I love Steph. We ride, whatever. We need you to go somewhere where you're a priority, bro. Because you're not the main priority on this.
Still, the concerns about Indiana's offensive chemistry are worth taking seriously, because Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston have the ingredients to become one of the league's most dangerous two-player combinations. Caitlin's range can pull defenders away from the paint and open passing lanes, while Boston's ability to operate near the basket gives Indiana another weapon defenses have to respect. When those two are working together the way they can, opposing teams are forced into difficult choices. step too far toward Caitlin, and Boston can suddenly have more room inside. Collapse on Boston, and Caitlin may have the space to attack, shoot, or create an opportunity for another teammate. That kind of constant pressure is exactly what makes a strong offensive pairing so difficult to defend. And when the ball is moving with a clear purpose, that chemistry can completely change the feel of a possession. But in this game, the moments when that connection was missing became increasingly obvious. Indiana struggled to build any sustained momentum, while Dallas managed to find enough offensive balance to keep the Fever from settling into a comfortable rhythm. Jessica Shepard was a major reason for that, especially in the first half, as she put together a dominant performance and finished with 26 points and 8 rebounds. Enrique Onenwale added 32 points, while Paige Beckers still made an impact despite struggling with her efficiency from the field. The Wings simply did not need everyone to have a perfect night. They generated enough offense, capitalized when important opportunities appeared, and made the timely plays necessary to stay in control. Meanwhile, Indiana never consistently found the rhythm it needed, and that difference ultimately helped Dallas.
The weirdest thing, ladies and gentlemen, I've ever seen in my life. Teams can't stop the Fever, so now they're resorting to dirty tactics to defeat the Fever, to slow down the Fever. This can potentially, with no exaggeration, kill a Fever. A player can lose their life from what's happening with these opposing teams that the Indiana Fever have played, not once, but back-to-back games. This is a very, very, very suspicious trend that is happening.
That is exactly why this loss left so many Fever fans frustrated. Indiana was not playing some unstoppable opponent that completely dominated the game from the opening minutes. This was a matchup that looked very winnable, and because of that, every missed chance became even harder to ignore once the final score was official. Whenever a team drops a game that supporters believe was there for the taking, the hunt for an explanation starts almost immediately, and when that roster includes one of the most closely followed players in basketball, that conversation becomes even louder. Some fans focused directly on Caitlin's inefficient shooting, while others turned their attention toward Stephanie White and questioned the offensive approach and how the possessions were being distributed. Others looked at the supporting cast, while another group felt Indiana spent too much of the game trying to establish Kelsey Mitchell as the primary scoring option without putting the same kind of effort into helping Caitlin develop an early rhythm. But here is where the discussion gets interesting. Several of those explanations can be true at the same time without turning the loss into some elaborate theory about the team secretly working against Caitlin. Caitlin's poor shooting performance absolutely deserves criticism, but that does not mean the offense could not have been structured more effectively around her strengths. At the same time, Stephanie White can make tactical decisions that fans strongly disagree with without every questionable choice automatically becoming proof that she is deliberately trying to hold Caitlin Clark back.
I got to tell you, this is arguably one of the worst games she's ever had. 10 points, 4 of 15, 2 for 8 from three-point range, 9 assists. I know that looks like a double-double. Woof, it was rough. Kelsey Mitchell went bonkers, but she missed a layup. She had a big steal, drove in, up for the layup, and if she'd have hit it, it would have been a 3-point game.
Unfortunately, once a frustrating game reaches social media, all that nuance usually gets thrown out the window. Fans often do not want a complicated explanation when they can simply point at one person and call them responsible. Suddenly, everyone wants to know who caused the problem, whether the coach has lost control of the locker room, whether the superstar is secretly furious, or whether the entire organization is somehow headed toward disaster before the next game even begins. But real situations are rarely that simple. Of course, complicated explanations are not nearly as entertaining as opening a video by announcing, "The Fever have officially entered basketball civil war." That kind of headline is much easier to sell. Still, Caitlin's body language was worth noticing because it showed an emotion that a box score could never completely capture. She looked frustrated by the performance, disappointed by the missed chances, and clearly unhappy with how the night had developed. The bigger question is whether that frustration was simply connected to this particular game, or whether it points towards something that needs to be addressed moving forward.
And that brings the conversation back to balance. Kelsey Mitchell has to receive opportunities because she is one of the most dangerous scorers in the league. Aaliyah Boston needs meaningful involvement as well because her confidence and continued development are important pieces of Indiana's future. At the same time, the rest of the roster needs to feel trusted and capable of contributing within the offensive system. But balance cannot mean Caitlin spends huge portions of the game standing around as an expensive decoy while everything else happens without her. Indiana has to find that middle ground where Caitlin's extraordinary abilities are being maximized without making the offense so predictable that defenses know exactly what is coming.
Head coach Jose Fernandez exposed Stephanie White in the worst way, icing Caitlin Clark out of the game. He let it be known the Dallas Wings' main priority was Caitlin Clark. They were fine with Kelsey going off because that means no one else was going to be involved. And they weren't even forced to execute their game plan that much on Caitlin Clark because bozo bonehead Stephanie White completely eliminated her from the game herself. Jose Fernandez just exposed this clown of a coach that the Indiana Fever had.
Sometimes, helping a struggling player does not require anything complicated. One well-designed possession can be enough to get that player feeling comfortable again. A clean screen can create an open shot. An easy finish can take some pressure off. And one successful trip down the floor can completely change the energy of the next several possessions. Once a shooter finally watches the ball drop through the net, that confidence can start coming back almost immediately. Defenders have to respect the threat again, passing lanes can begin to open, and suddenly the entire offense looks more dangerous. That is why this game should not be reduced to another ugly shooting line on Caitlin Clark's stat sheet. Instead, it can serve as a reminder that even elite talent still needs rhythm, structure, communication, and trust. A superstar can win individual possessions through pure ability, but a successful team needs an offensive system that repeatedly puts its best players in positions where they have a real chance to succeed. If the interaction between...
I've been saying this for a very long time, and we just got further confirmation about it. Caitlin Clark is the biggest threat in the league. Caitlin Clark will demand the respect of the coaches. Fans on Twitter, fans online, fans at home, their words are just meaningless. My words included. What really matters is how coaches plan to stop the biggest threat on the team. And it's clear that every coach may not come out and say it, but every game plan remains consistent. The goal is to stop Caitlin Clark first and leave Kelsey Mitchell second. We got to get the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands first, and we'll live with whatever happens after.
Caitlin remains one of the biggest names in the sport and one of the players fans watch most closely. That means every poor performance, every frustrated reaction, and every uncomfortable-looking interaction is going to attract a level of attention that another player might never receive. That kind of spotlight can be exhausting, and it can be incredibly unforgiving. For now, though, the biggest question still centers on those few seconds involving Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White. Was Caitlin actually choosing not to engage with her coach, or did the cameras simply catch a player experiencing a brief moment of frustration after an extremely disappointing game? The people inside that locker room are the only ones who know exactly what happened, and until fans see Caitlin and Stephanie together again, the attention will not be limited to what happens during the game itself. People will be watching the conversations, facial expressions,